We're an island nation, drawn to the sea that surrounds us. For many, it's a playground. For others, it's where we earn our living. But the sea's unpredictable. It can change in an instant. And when accidents happen, they happen very fast.
On the sea, you have to expect the unexpected. It will just turn around and bite you.
Mayday! Mayday! Help!
There to save our lives is a volunteer army of nearly 5,000 ordinary people.
When the pager goes off, we don't know what the shout is, where it is, how many people are involved. It could be anything.
Where do you feel the pain, Alex?
My back and my leg and my neck.
Stuart, just hold the boat!
I am so thankful that they came.
Things could have turned out to be a lot worse.
I've had people drown in front of me. Before we've got there, that person's gone.
Calm down, you're okay, pal.
Equipped with their own cameras,
My light flashing. Yeah, mine.
the crews give us a unique insight into every call-out as only they see it. Speeding through the roughest weather, searching for people who may only have moments to live. For those who risk their lives, it has become a way of life.
The decisions we make on a lifeboat, it can all mean the difference between life or death.
"50 miles east of London, on the north coast of Kent, Whitstable is a seaside town with a proud fishing heritage.
Whitstable is known for oysters, but the harbour itself draws in the tourists. People actually like to come and visit a working harbour. There's mess, there's nets, it smells of fish. It's authentic. That's what people come to see.
The harbour is also home to the town's lifeboat station and its 24 volunteers.
The team at Whitstable comes from a variety of backgrounds and bring various different skills to the team. We have some fairly experienced helmsmen who can command the boat. We then have people coming in at the bottom end who are just starting off in their lifeboat career.
Newest recruit, 21-year-old Ruth, has only been on the crew for 14 months.
I've been around the beach in the lifeboat for pretty much all my life. I started sailing when I was 8. My dad's got me into it and I've just loved it and carried on. You never know when you're going to need the lifeboat, so it's just a good thing to give back to the community, really. Before I joined the crew, I kind of expected to get straight in there and go on loads of shouts, but there's kind of a ranking system, so if full crew turn up for a shout or a job, they get to go first, whereas me as a trainee, I have to wait my turn.
A blustery morning in June. The pagers bring the crew running to the station. Ruth is one of the first to arrive.
It was quite an early job, probably the earliest one I've been to. But yeah, I heard it and I was just like instantly awake.
A member of the public has spotted a boat in trouble out at sea.
We were told someone ashore had seen an upturned boat, possibly with a person in the water next to it. They weren't sure. Worst case scenario was a boat recently occupied with no one with it, because then we'd be searching for people in the water.
The possibility of casualties in the water immediately raises the urgency of the call. The lifeboat launches with the minimum crew needed to go to sea.
There was only 3 of us on the boat rather than 4, so Ruth knew that she was a key member of the crew that day and needed to step up and deliver.
It's Ruth's first call to a potential casualty.
It's always in the back of your mind that you're not going to be able to do something, either physically or mentally. Kind of a bit nervous about what you're going to find and what you're going to have to deal with.
All the crew know is there's an upturned boat. They still have no idea if anyone was thrown into the water.
What can be quite common is that they look at where they are, they can see the land, and they think, that's not too far, I can swim that. And then they leave their craft and try and swim ashore.
Even in June, the sea temperature here can be as low as 13 degrees, cold enough to kill in minutes.
They might be suffering from cold immersion shock, which is where the peripheral circulation shuts down. People can have a heart attack, they can suffer a stroke. I've had quite a few situations over the years where we found a person in the water and unfortunately we haven't been able to save their life.
15 minutes after launching and 2 miles offshore, the crew spots something in the water.
As we were approaching, the only thing we could see was the upturned boat.
Wow.
We saw one person, then we saw another person, and we were like, wow, this is real, this is, yeah, more intense than we thought it was going to be.
Are there any casualties in the water? You in the pink top, you stay where you are.
The two men are exhausted and freezing cold. Now, with just 3 on board, the crew have to get them out of the water as fast as they can.
Put your back towards the boat, okay? And then I'll get you on this side.
The second guy was still holding on to the boat, and he was just shouting out for us to go back and rescue him.
While they desperately try to get the first man aboard, the second is swept further away by the tide.
Be ready in a minute.
We were just trying to reassure him that we were coming back for him and he was going to be saved.
Okay, so on 3.
1, 2, 3. Right, slide your legs in, sit him on the seat, and we'll go and get the other guy quick as you can.
The crew now need to get the other casualty on board as quickly as possible. Every minute in the water increases his chances of succumbing to the cold.
You alright, Chief? Come on. Just walk him a little bit further back. It's alright, it's alright, calm down. You're okay, pal, you're okay. Yeah. To you, Andy. Okay. You're okay now. Okay. 2, 3. Right, just going to grab your legs. Okay. There we go. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Just sit there, get your breath back a minute. That's right, just lean against me.
They both looked completely terrified and were completely in shock that we'd actually got there, and quite relieved, I think, on their faces that they've been found.
Although they're out of the water, the 2 men are still in danger. Both are showing signs of severe hypothermia.
Just because we've found them and got them on board the lifeboat doesn't mean they're out of the woods, so to speak. They were both very, very cold. They were shivering and shaking profusely. They had no energy at all to stand. They just wanted to remain lying on the deck. They kind of looked like they were on their last legs.
We've recovered 2 casualties, male, in their 60s approximately. Could you relay to Dover, please? We'd like an ambulance to Herne Bay on the outside ramp, over.
How long have you estimated you've been in there? 4.5 hours, I think.
Blimey, right. Okay, we're going to take you back to Herne Bay. Yeah, get an ambulance, get you checked over, okay?
Oh, we don't need an ambulance.
Oh, I think you do, pal. If you've been in the water that long, seriously, you do.
We assumed it had just recently happened, so to discover the boat had actually been capsized for some 2.5 hours. That obviously was a bit of a game changer.
Enough, sir? You're breathing. Okay, can I get you lean against this? Go.
It was crazy that they'd held on for that long, especially because of their age. It was just amazing that they were still there and still alive.
The news that they've been in the water for 2.5 hours immediately increases the crew's concern for the casualties.
I was worried about what other medical conditions could materialise. Someone that's ageing and has been in a very, very stressful situation, you don't know if they're going to have a cardiac arrest, for example.
They are very cold. We're insulating them as best we can. I want to get them ashore ASAP, over.
They were both quite shaky and not very responsive at all. Just trying to keep them talking, just to keep them more alert.
Right.
It's important that at that point that they didn't give up, that they remained conscious until we got them ashore.
Although we had to get them ashore quickly, I also had to think about the wind chill. We had to strike a balance, really, between landing them as quickly as possible and not getting them any colder than they already were.
The biggest risk now is that their bodies start shutting down with the shock and cold. Ruth's job is to try and keep the casualties alert and conscious.
He was kind of slowly dropping, either unconscious or asleep. It's very scary to kind of be in a situation that you can't control. You've got to just try and keep them with you, really.
You're right there, guys. Okay. Cafe Mobile, Whitstable Lifeboat. Could you relay to Dover, please, that we're just approaching the ramp now? You just hold the boat. Gordon's coming down.
22 minutes after being rescued and almost 3 hours since they capsized, the crew reached the shore with the casualties still conscious.
It was a relief to get them back onto firm ground. Luckily, there was 2 ambulances waiting there ready for us to receive them.
Very shaken, very cold.
Lifelong friends Mick and John had left on a fishing trip early that morning.
We left about 6:30, 7:15. Calm, perfect. Got out to about 2.5 miles. It started to get rough, but we've been in worse.
Are you going to be able to walk up, or do you want a stretcher? No?
I can't move.
No.
Can't move.
Yeah.
We anchored up. I got the first rod out, and then I said to Mick, we're drifting bad.
I started pulling the anchor, and all of a sudden it caught on something, and that spun the boat round. Then 2 waves came together behind us, formed like a pyramid, and the boat just went straight over.
After being hit by the rogue wave, Mick and John were too far out to swim ashore. Their only chance of survival was to hang on to the boat.
Mick said to me, you know we're done for, don't you? I said, yeah, I know. He said, because the people won't come out and fish on this tide. We knew he was in trouble, big trouble. Mick said, well, this is our lot now. I said, I know that, but I'll see you in the next life, no doubt.
And then I said, what a bloody silly way to die after everything we've been through. Never mind, we're still together, so you know.
I just knew that I was just going to fall asleep. And I said to Mick, I said, I reckon I got about 10 minutes left. And he said, so have I.
We were talking about undoing the rope, and then John was looking one miles down, and he said, I wouldn't do it yet, Mick. Look what's coming. And that was the RNLI. That's how close it was, and I'm not lying.
Okay, John. Right, in a minute.
I'm going to get your bum up on here. We're going to slide you round, okay?
Okay, nice and gently. There we go. Okay, that's it. That's it. Swing them round. There you go.
Right, I got you from the back.
Look, it's only ankle deep here.
That was something that you can't explain. It was a feeling that you've got a second life. And it was fantastic feeling to see that little red dot come.
This is John. He's been in the water about 2.5 hours. Okay. Very cold. His boat got swamped and capsized. Okay.
The 2 guys had minutes, literally minutes. They'd said their goodbyes and they were fully ready to kind of let go and give up.
John.
Thank you,
John. My name's Ollie. All right, buddy. Okay, and the next.
You just can't even comprehend saying goodbye to someone in the water when something has happened like that. It's, yeah, very difficult. Very difficult.
Might need a hand here if you're feeling strong. Right.
Mick, we're going to get you out of here, okay?
Okay.
Yeah?
Ruth handled the situation really well. She just kind of took everything in her stride. It had turned out to be a more of a life or death call in the end, and she didn't flap or become flustered at all, and just dealt with it as it happened in front of her.
Mick and John were taken to hospital in Margate, where they were treated for hypothermia.
They saved John and me from drowning, and we couldn't have held on for another 10 minutes. I owe them my life, and so does John.
It's very humbling to know that you've actually been part of saving 2 people's lives. I don't know, in a weird way it's strange to say that you've saved someone's life, but it's also what we're here to do. So, yeah, it's cool.
"30 miles away across the Thames estuary, the Essex shoreline is infamous for its tidal creeks, sprawling salt marshes and oozing mudflats. Sitting between 2 rivers is the low-lying town of West Mersey. Every day, the rise and fall of the tide makes this a very unique place to live.
Come high water, Mersey is indeed an island. You can't get on, you can't get off. And that can be frustrating for a lot of people. A lot of people can't quite understand why we don't just raise the road. But I think it would start to lose its identity a little bit then. It's the most easterly inhabited island in the UK, and it's still very much a community. I think someone put it really well, is that Great Britain's lucky to be connected to Mersey.
When the pages go off, the volunteers at West Mersey Station can either be called inland into a labyrinth of inlets and mudflats, or eastwards out into the deeper waters of the North Sea.
Once you're out of the local waters, or outside as our local fishermen like to call it, you're starting to get into some fairly busy areas.
Over 300 cargo vessels steam through the waters off Mersey every day.
There's passing ships all the time. It's not generally known by most people because they can't be viewed from the shores, certainly around Mersey. But you don't have to travel too far out of the estuary to find them.
A windy autumnal evening. An emergency call comes in from the Coast Guard. This time the crew has been called out into the North Sea.
I was about to go out and meet some friends for dinner. Just jumped in the car and the pages went off. More headed down to the boathouse, sort of thinking that time of day, that must be a broken down boat or something, trying to get home. But no, got down to the station and to be told, no, it's a life raft.
A life raft is usually only launched if a ship's crew is in immediate danger.
The only real reason to abandon your vessel to get onto a life raft is either going to be because it's on fire or because it's sunk or is sinking.
It is the last possible means of saving yourself, saving your crew. It is desperate times if you're in a life raft.
Has everyone managed to make it into that life raft? Could people have been injured on the vessel that weren't able to get into the life raft? They're now in the water, or have they drifted away? Your heart rate goes up for every single scenario that you're running over in your head.
The alarm was raised by someone on the life raft who phoned the Coast Guard, but they only had a very rough idea of their location. And now strong westerly winds are pushing them further out to sea.
With the tide ebbing and the wind blowing offshore, a life raft, it's like a sail. It's going to start to catch the wind, and if it's a windy day, you're not just drifting on the tide, you're being propelled along, so in a short time you could be, several miles offshore.
And every mile further out to sea is a mile closer to some of the world's busiest shipping lanes.
A life raft in a shipping lane is extremely dangerous. These boats are very high out of the water, they make a lot of noise. There's no way on earth they would see you. All of these things are just exploding across your mind. Everyone's on high alert, and the concern was just to get to them as quickly as we could.
7 minutes after launching, the crew starts searching the area where they suspect the life raft may have drifted to. But there's another problem. Nightfall is fast approaching.
It's very difficult to spot people, small vessels, life rafts in the water in good visibility and daylight. As soon as that light starts to fade, it becomes very, very difficult to find somebody. Very difficult indeed.
As they search the empty sea for any sign of life, an update comes in over the radio.
The Coast Guard managed to contact the occupant on a mobile phone. We instructed them to set a flare off. We were then able to locate their position from seeing that flare.
Finally, 17 minutes after launching, they spot the life raft 3 miles out to sea. But there's no sign of a sinking ship or any vessel in trouble.
As we approached the raft, we couldn't see much at all. There was no one waving. It was just a very small 2 or 3 person life raft. We came alongside, and then it was at that point that a head popped out.
When we got alongside the life raft and were able to speak to this guy, we were able to very quickly ask those crucial questions. Are you on your own? Are you okay? We were very, very quickly able to figure out that this guy was on his own and there wasn't a boat involved, which was really, really peculiar.
Sort of expecting to find someone that had probably been in the water, was traumatised, could be injured. But we got there, we found a chap that was, he was very happy. He was very, very pleased with himself. He had food and water and everything he needed, really.
It was just bizarre. Why is he in a life raft? Why has he got all this kit with him? Why is there no boat? It didn't make sense.
Where have you come from?
The man reveals he bought the life raft second-hand online, and he had set off from the Essex coast early that morning.
The guy lived in London, worked in the city, so fancied a coastal retreat, get away from the city and enjoy some fresh sea air. His idea was that he would launch from the beach, spend a night on board, and the tide would turn and bring him back in the next day. So it was kind of like a bit of a nautical camping experience, I guess.
Anyone that's spent time in a life raft will tell you they're not pleasant places to be. It's claustrophobic, it's cold, you're constantly wet. Why anyone would want to get into one of these things and go to sea, I don't know. We noticed he got a little digital camera strapped to his chest. It transcribed that he was a wannabe sort of adventurer of sorts. Your Bear Grylls-y inspired hero or something, I guess, maybe.
The man's nautical expedition came to an early end after just 3 miles.
It was only when the weather turned, he'd started to feel a bit seasick, that he realised that he was in trouble. And his phone still then had signal. If he'd drifted a bit more further out, he wouldn't have had any phone signal at all and wouldn't have been able to raise any alarm. He was very blasé about the whole incident, to be honest. It was only when we sort of told him that he would have been blown out to sea that I think the seriousness of the situation sort of dawned on him.
Once you get into open water, the next landmass you hit is Europe, you know, Scandinavia and Holland. If you manage to make it across that, then you'll be sort of talking Dutch, I guess.
Apart from a bout of seasickness, the man suffered no ill effects from his maritime adventure.
He's a lucky guy. We said to him, actually, when we dropped him off, the first thing he should do is go and buy a lottery ticket, because the margins that day were so small. He had a lot of luck on his side.
We made sure that that particular life raft wouldn't go to sea. More worrying, later on we discovered that he'd bought 2, so yeah, there is another one. We're hoping we don't see it again or anyone else around the coast sees it again.
On average, a lifeboat will be launched every hour, every day, somewhere along our coastline. And once on the water, it's not always plain sailing.
I don't think you can ever predict what's going to happen at any time. Every day's a different day. You never know what you're going to go out to.
Sheep in trouble, dolphin that swam up the beach and needs pointing in the right direction.
We're here to give you a hand, whatever you want.
You wouldn't believe what we see.
The sea is our friend, our protector. But if you're complacent, that protector will turn around and slap you so hard, you won't know whether you're coming or going.
People don't believe when you tell them how quickly things can change. They're like, it's lovely out there. I'm like, it might be lovely, but within about 15 minutes, you might want to come back home again because it won't be lovely.
We're prepared as well as we possibly can be for all outcomes. But even with the best preparation and planning, things break, engines fail, things go wrong.
Right, let's come out, let's come out.
Nearly drowned probably about 3 times now, I would say. The sea doesn't play really by any rules per se, you know.
We have to accept that it is a living beast, and if you drop your guard, it will punish you.
The popular Welsh holiday resort of Porthcawl sits on the coast, 20 miles west of Cardiff.
It's just the usual seaside town, Porthcawl is. It's a big surfing community, kite surfing and windsurfing. People come from London, you know, they come from miles away. When the sun's out, there'll be hundreds and hundreds of people in the water, you know.
Its location at the neck of the Bristol Channel can make these waters particularly unforgiving.
We've got the second biggest tidal range in the world, so we get some really fast moving currents, and it's that tends to catch a lot of people out.
I'd say the most common shouts around here are cut off. People go out walking on a sunny afternoon, walk around a point, and then sometimes within 10, 15 minutes they can turn around and the tides come in and cut them off and they can't get back out.
A sunny April evening. 2 young women in danger on the coast have dialed 999.
We just come off one call out and I went in the harbour bar and had a coffee, and about halfway through my coffee the pager went off again.
2 people and a dog cut off by the tide in between Monk Nash and Nash Point. They've walked 15 minutes.
So they've walked towards Nash Point?
Towards Nash Point.
The station's 2 lifeboats launch within 7 minutes and make their way at a top speed of 40 miles an hour.
Whenever we get a cut-off shout, the first thing we're doing is checking the tide, seeing what the tide's doing, the state of the tide, how long we've got until high tide.
There's just over an hour until high water. The crew know that waves will already be crashing against the cliffs at the Casualties' last known location.
There's people on the raft there.
The crew have 6 miles to cover. It's now a race to reach the women before the sea does.
They're in quite a dangerous place. Obviously, the further the tide comes in, they could be in the water by the time you get there, which is obviously the last thing that we want.
The call has come in from Nash Point, a notorious beach that sits under an unstable cliff face.
You'd just be having a nice stroll with your dog, and the next thing you know, you turn around and the path that you've taken is covered with the tide and you can't get out, and you could be stuck up against the cliffs. The swell just comes in, it doesn't break as such, it just breaks straight onto the rocks. It's a horrible place, really.
We get a lot of rock falls down that way, so there's not only the potential of people getting cut off and having to enter the water, but there's also the potential of rocks falling down on top of them.
14 minutes after launching, the crew on the larger Atlantic B-class boat reaches Nash Point and begin their search.
They're in a cove, didn't they? How far would you walk over this plan in 15 minutes? 15 minutes from my dash is as good as walking.
no sign of the two women. Most of the narrow beach is now underwater.
Milford Coast Guard. And we believe we're on scene with the casualties at just approximately 100 metres towards Nash Point from Whitmore's Stairs.
They spot the two women and their dog on the beach next to a cliff fall. They're trapped between the rapidly rising tide and a 150-foot sheer cliff face.
You could just see them on the side of a rock fall, pinned up against an outcrop, really, which obviously wasn't the best place for us to try and get them out of.
And with the tide still rising, every minute is critical.
Just give us a call when you have assessed the situation and if you're able to extract the casualties from it.
The casualties were high and dry, but obviously the tide was still coming in, so they needed to be rescued.
The crew decide to send in the smaller D-class lifeboat to evacuate the casualties before the tide overwhelms the beach.
To our right now as we're looking, yeah? That's the corner that I would be aiming for, yeah. Milford Haven Coast Guard, Milford Haven Coast Guard. We're just preparing to veer with the ILB. Any issues, we will come back to you. Over. Okay. Sorry?
The plan is to veer down, a risky maneuver using the anchor to hold the boat while reversing through the surf to the shore.
Veering down is a very dangerous maneuver. If we're veering, it's because it's near to the rocks. So, yeah, there's always the potential for a capsize.
Okay, you ready? Quiet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
One depth in. I need someone depth in.
I'm right on the edge of the shelf. It's up to you.
Do you reckon you could stand up?
No.
An underwater ledge risks ripping the propeller off. It's too dangerous to get in any closer.
2 life jackets, quick.
The crew urgently need to assess the casualties.
Do you want to go?
Braving the breaking waves and rocks, they swim for the shore.
It was quite tough to get to the shore. Obviously, there's backwash coming in, which is stopping you getting in, and then obviously you've got the waves coming in again, then, which is throwing you on to the shore, really. The rocks are all sharp and unpredictable, and the size of the rocks is all different. You could be standing up one minute, and then the next minute you could be like knee-deep by a rock.
The tide is still rising. The boats can't reach them where they are, so the crew on the beach start leading the casualties along the shore.
She's fallen, is she?
There's a lot of loose rocks on that cliff, and there's 2 young girls there and a dog. You know, they're pretty vulnerable. You could see they were pretty scared.
Further down the cliff face, the D-class makes one last attempt to reach the beach.
Lock off. Okay, wave coming. Hold on. And that's a big wave.
The Atlantic crew watch on as the smaller lifeboat desperately tries to find any way into the shoreline.
Some big swells dumping in there, mate.
Oh, mate, I think that's too dangerous, I do.
Big wave, big wave. That was clean up. Right, let's come out, let's come out. There's too much of a swell there. Quick. Yeah, something's gone wrong there, is it? They're coming out, mate.
Just meters away from the casualties, the crew abandon their attempt.
All right?
It's a bit of a nightmare. It's just that swell is nasty.
If I veer back and this engine goes, we're then knackered, aren't we? It's be too much risk, I think. The tide's flooding. We got how long?
Half an hour before high tide.
I think this is a scene we can't do the rescue, is it? I'll confirm helicopter, yeah? Yeah, I think so. It's a safe first.
I think so.
Lantrid Major Mobile. We are going to request 187. The shore break is too steep to safely recover the casualties. We can get in.
It is really frustrating when we couldn't do the rescue. You get there, you train for it, you want to do the rescue, but just didn't feel it was safe.
Should have said.
Running out of time and options, the crew call in the Coast Guard helicopter to evacuate the casualties. But first, they must find a safe extraction point.
We had to get them further east up the beach to less overhanging rocks so the chopper could come pick us up.
Right, guys, I don't know if that's a drop there, mate.
There was a ledge that we had to cross, but within 10 minutes it was going to be covered, so it was pretty time critical.
Grab the dog, guys, grab the dog.
The crew on the boats can only watch and hope the casualties make it across safely.
That's a big swell, guys. Watch that one. That's a big set. We're at the rocks, are we?
20 minutes after the call, the helicopter arrives.
There she is, look, you're going in the helicopter now.
Hi, I'm Ian. I'm obviously going to get you into the helicopter. Yeah.
The two casualties, Caitlin and Claire, have been friends since they were 10 years old.
It was one of the first nice days of the year, so we decided that we'd go on a walk. At first, we just stayed in the main part of the beach, which is quite accessible from the path, but then there was another cove sort of around the corner. So we thought we'd see what it was like around there.
Both of these slots are going to be behind your knees and under your arm.
We were walking back then, ready to leave, and Claire asked me if this was the way we came because it seemed quite different. The terrain was quite different. It was a lot rockier. I looked ahead and realised that the path we came was now under a few foot of seawater. At that point, I think we were quite worried and we didn't really know what to do. So I called 999 and asked them to put me through to the Coast Guard. I didn't really want to call the Coast Guard out because I didn't want to waste resources anyway. And then when they said they were launching a helicopter, in addition to the two boats that were already out there, I felt really bad and I felt quite stupid, to be honest with you.
Once Caitlin and Claire are on board the helicopter, the last casualty to be winched up is Alfie the dog.
The dog was not impressed when they were trying to get him into the bag.
Not as small as the dog,
But we managed to get him in the end, and he was all safe and sound.
I'll just have to hug him.
I've never seen a dog go flying before.
It's definitely something that'll stick in my head. A dog kind of dangling off the bottom of a helicopter at sea. Yeah, it was definitely a strange one, that was.
Neither Caitlin, Claire nor Alfie suffered any ill effects from their experience.
They were very lucky. If they hadn't called us at the time that they called us, yeah, it could have been a very different ending.
Firing.
Get him in quick, yeah, twin there.
It's not often that you go out and it goes like clockwork. You've got to be able to adapt to the situation. Because no matter how comfortable you are or how well you think you know the sea is always in charge.
In Essex, Clacton-on-Sea is one of Britain's most iconic seaside resorts. The town's famous pier opened in 1871 and still attracts up to 500,000 people each year.
Clacton has always been a focal point for tourism. Formerly had a very large bottlings here. A lot of people from the London area will travel to Clacton, so very busy through the summer period.
Clacton, in my eyes, is a wonderful place, really. I've never lived anywhere else, and I wouldn't change it for a thing, in all honesty.
For over 120 years, the town's lifeboat launched from the pier until a new station was built in 2007, a mile up the coast.
First one I'm going to tie is a bowline behind your back.
No, it's not going to happen.
Come on, Tim.
Done. Crew members and best friends Tim and Tim have known each other for over 20 years.
We're like brothers, really. We know each other inside out, back to front. He knows what I'm thinking. I know what he's thinking.
He was my best man at my wedding. He's the godfather to my daughter. He's married a Samantha. I've married a Samantha.
There is a lot of fun and there is a lot of messing about, but when push comes to shove and we're out on a shout, I would trust Tim with my life. Don't do it.
You know, they say you can't pick your family, pick your friends. He's family, he's my best mate.
Early August. Approaching midnight, an emergency call comes in from the Coast Guard.
I was at home in bed and the pager went off. Got up, threw some clothes on, got down there as quickly as I could. Came through the door, we was told it was people in the water.
Two people have been reported in the water off Jaywick Sands, 2 miles from the station.
Normally everyone gets a fair crack of getting the guy on the boat, but if it's people in the water, first three through the door are in and gone. People in the water is a life and death situation.
1, 2, 3, go!
The smaller of the station's 2 lifeboats is on the water in less than 8 minutes.
Come in!
But a strong tide and rough conditions mean that the chances of finding anyone in the sea are fading fast.
It's extremely hard to find people at night, especially on a spring tide, because if you've had the first report maybe half an hour ago, they could be a mile down the coast. You go to the first position and start searching.
Back on land, more crew arrive at the boathouse.
So as I pulled up, I said, "What have the boys gone to?" And he said, "Oh, there's 2 people in the water off of Jaywick." I was like, "Blimey, right, okay." So I ran upstairs, turned the radio on, and I must have been sitting there for about 30 seconds, I reckon, with the radio on, and it sort of sparked into life, and the guys from the ILB had called the boathouse and said, "Launch the Atlantic now." It was like, what on earth could this be? You know, why do they need another boat?
So I'm now in this mindset that I'm going to go help Tim search for 2 persons in the water because he can't find them. He's got on scene, there's no sign of them. So we've got a serious search coming out this time of night.
Any casualties in the water will have just minutes to be found before they're swept out to sea and lost in the darkness.
I saw the nav lights of the D-class quite close inshore. And as we was coming along, I was thinking, what are they doing? They were sort of stationary. And it wasn't until we probably got about 50 metres away, and I was like, what is that? And the guys were like, that's a yacht. Guys have got the searchlights at the ready to look for this person in the water, 2 people in the water, and now in front of us we've got a 26-foot yacht, hard aground, on a rock breakwater. It was mind-boggling, it really was.
The 2 crews now face a very different emergency. 2 people on a grounded yacht at risk of breaking up on the rocks. Lives are still in danger, but the crew have no idea how many.
Because we were told it was people in the water, is this another job? Is this on top of 2 people in the water? Is there 2 people in the water and 2 people on the boat? When we don't know how many casualties we're dealing with, it's better to have 2 boats searching for the people than 1.
To find out what's going on, they decide to put a crew member aboard the stricken yacht.
Right, we're in.
But even getting to the boat across the rocks in the rough sea is a risky manoeuvre.
We was on a falling tide. We had a very large swell that night.
Where I'm standing, there's a big rock. Another one right in front of me.
Because of the position the yacht was in, because it was so far onto the rocks. There's always the risk that the boat could break up. You don't put your crew aboard something like that lightly. But we needed to know exactly what was going on.
Now on board, the crew established that a man and a woman on the yacht are the only casualties, and no one's in the water.
The yacht is high and dry on the end of the rocks. He's going nowhere.
But with the yacht stuck fast, it's a race to extract the casualties before it breaks up on the rocks.
Even though we've done away with the scenario of persons in the water, it's still a very, very dangerous job that we're dealing with. If the sea's right, the wind conditions are right, that boat can be lifted by the tide can go away and drop back down on the rocks again. It could even get a hole in the bottom of the hull and take on water and sink.
The 2 persons on board are going to be extracted via the D-class lifeboat.
The only way for the casualties to get to safety is to jump 7 feet down from the yacht onto a moving lifeboat in the dark.
For all you know, it could take 1 wave and that boat could split in 2. And the last thing we want is it to obviously break up when we've still got A, a crew member on there, and B, you've still got 2 casualties on there as well.
Wait there, wait till we take it, and then jump in.
Tim must time his approach with the casualties' jump perfectly to prevent them hitting the water or the rocks.
We had a very, very small window of opportunity with the tide dropping as quickly as it was. If you go in too far and you've hit the rocks, and you can end up injuring yourself, your crew, smashing the boat. You can't put your crew in danger. You don't want to damage the boat, but you've got a job to do as well. You've got to get these people off and save their lives.
All Tim and the crew on the other boat can do is watch and wait, while their fellow crew members prepare to make their first run in.
To have to take a boat in to a yacht that you can see is already in trouble on the rocks, and you've then got to get your lifeboat in there as well, you've got to have your wits about you. Your crew have got to have their wits about them, because not only are you trying to focus on getting those people into your boat, you've got to see what that sea's doing. Is there a wave coming up behind me? Is there a wave coming to the side of me or to the bow of me? You're watching, you're keeping an eye on the tide for them as well. At the end of the day, yes, that's 3 lifeboatmen in there, but that's also my best mate and 2 other mates.
Right. I'm ready to get you.
Jump in.
Right, yeah, got you. Right, get up, quickly. Just sit down and just hold on as tight as you can, okay?
We'll get you on that boat, and then we'll go back for everyone else, all right?
Tim has to get the second casualty off the boat before the tide drops too far or the yacht breaks up on the rocks.
Just wait. Right, go! You in? Right, you okay? Right, we're going to be ready in a second, so get yourself ready. Come on, mate. Right, you ready? Yes. Brilliant. Go. Just twisted now, yeah.
When they got onto the Atlantic, you could see a little bit of sigh of relief. They was on a boat where they felt safe.
The casualties were uninjured, but their boat couldn't be salvaged and broke up on the rocks.
They were quite a shock up through the whole ordeal. Heads are drooped a little bit, they're quiet, they know how close they've been.
I don't actually know how they'd got on the rocks. Earlier in the evening, we'd seen them sailing towards Brighton, but they'd like almost doubled back on themselves. And to end up where they were, I have no idea how they got there. Yeah, it's a strange place to be. I would say it is probably 2 lives saved because they were in a whole heap of trouble where they were, and I wouldn't have liked to say what would have happened to them. So, yeah, that's 2 lives saved.
"215 miles north on the Yorkshire coast lies the town of Redcar. Facing the vast expanse of the North Sea, guarding these waters brings unique challenges.
The North Sea can be a dangerous place if you're unprepared because of the rocks and the scars and the breakwater, which can funnel more surf towards us. So for people that don't know what they're going out in and how quick it can change, it can cause more problems for us.
25-year-old marine consultant Nathan has been a volunteer for 8 years.
When you're always carrying a pagey, you're never really switched off. But yeah, it is nice to have a walk on the beach and not specifically look for people that are in trouble. You like to think that other people are doing that for you. But yeah, it is hard not to take a second glance at things that are out on the water.
As the station's training coordinator, Nathan knows better than most the risks along this coastline.
We've got Redcar rocks which start from over there and they run right across. We've got a gap in the middle that the boats use, and we've got another set that runs off to the east. At low tide we get quite a lot of people going on them, which isn't a problem, but they just don't realise that the tide's going to come back in at some point. The wind farm's been here for around 7 years now. Unfortunately, because it's so close to shore, it's only a mile from the low water mark. Quite a lot of people think it's closer than it actually is, and we have been called before to people trying to swim toward it, so it does occasionally cause the call-outs for us. We've also got the Southgate breakwater. That's all reclaimed land, so it goes from quite deep, around 20 metres. On the inside of that, you've got quite a lot of silt and sandbanks. There's ample warning signs down there urging people not to go down, but unfortunately, we do get call-outs to people that have been down there on the bottom landing in amongst all the surf, and they do get swept off.
A summer's evening. A member of the public has reported a person floating motionless in the sea.
The first information we received was that it was a person possibly face down in the water, around 200 yards off the shore edge. One of the worst possible shouts we can get is somebody that's been reported as face down in the water. That means they're at that stage now where life is pretty much about to leave them. So there's always that extra bit of urgency, and I'm thinking, do I need to be pulling my zip that extra bit tighter? Same with the life jacket, do I need that extra inch on my belt in preparation to go into the water if we locate them?
Time is really important. You don't know who the casualty is, you don't know what condition they're in. If they're in the water, maybe that they've consumed alcohol, they've entered the water by accident, and actually the time they've got available might be measured in minutes or seconds before they're going to drown.
Someone or something in the waters.
You really hope that the information you've been given about the position is correct. Ideally, you want to go exactly to the position you're told to go to and find the person in the water. The worst case at the back of your mind is, what if we get there and we can't find a person in the water, and then we've got to start searching for them. And that's always an uncomfortable moment when you realise you've got there, the initial adrenaline, where is the person? They're not there, and then you've got to start looking.
The station's fastest lifeboat is put on the water immediately.
There's no such thing as a usual outcome for someone who's entered the water around here. You hear tragic stories where people have just been in the water for a matter of seconds, and unfortunately it's too late by the time the rescue gets to them.
There's nothing that can prepare you for facing death. You can watch all the movies, you can go through all the phases, you can think you're the hard man who's all right amongst fatalities, but until you actually do it, it's just something you've got to get on with.
There, straight ahead.
As we proceeded towards the location given to us by the Coast Guard, Neil spotted something in the water, and as we were moving towards the position, it became clear that if this was a person, they weren't well at all. They weren't waving for help, they didn't appear to be swimming, so we knew we had to get there as quickly as possible. So as we closed closer to the casualty, to our relief, it became clear that this was an object in the water, not a person in the water. It was a piece of a tree trunk.
you're prepared to go retrieve somebody from the water. And when you actually get there to find out it's not what you thought it was, there is a bit of sense of relief there, but you've also got all this adrenaline that's just been, it's just got to dissipate, which is a good thing because we're not retrieving anybody. But also you think we've also just been tasked to rescue a tree.
So when you find an object in the water that is about the position you expect to find a person in the water, definitely the mood on board lightens at that point of, oh, great, does the log need first aid? Probably not, and we'll rescue the log.
Because this log had been reported as a person in the water, there's a good chance that it will be reported again later in the day, later in the week. So we took the opportunity to put a rope on it and just tow it into a position where the tide would then take it ashore, and it eliminates the possibility of it being reported again. It can be frustrating sometimes going to a call out that never amounts to anything, but we're never going to hold anything against the first informants because it's always better for us to go out and check and come home empty-handed than it is not to go out at all.
The lifeboats of the RNLI guard over 19,000 miles of coastline, and no two shouts are ever the same.
You could never really know or predict what's going to happen out on the water. It's a real sense of the unknown and never really knowing until you get there what you're going to find.
There is no way you can be prepared for every eventuality at sea. I've rescued an Elvis, I've rescued a guy that used a microwave as an anchor. The list could go on and on and on.
Can't think of anything worse than being stuck in an office all day long doing the same thing. There's always like a bit of variety, and this definitely offers that.
I'm always amazed at the stuff we see. Nothing queer as folk, as they say. It's very apt. We're always surprised.
In Wales, it's been 10 weeks since Caitlin and Alfie were unexpectedly caught out by the tide.
I've still been taking Alfie out for walks, but we haven't been back to the beach since. We've tended to stay to parks and places where we're confident we're on dry land.
Goodbye!
I think we definitely would go to beaches again, but we definitely make sure we're a lot more aware of the sea. We check the tide times and just make sure that we always had that sort of exit route off the beach if the tide were to come in.
And in Kent, Mick and John are now back on their feet after their ill-fated fishing trip.
Where's my lovely lady? Where's my lovely lady that looked after me?
How are you?
Thanks to you, we're fine. Well, we can't say enough, can we? I mean, what do we owe you? It's our lives. It's as simple as that, isn't it? We can't say anymore.
So have you guys been out on a boat since, or are you planning to go out?
We haven't yet, but...
We're going.
Yeah, we're going again.
We'll phone you up when we're going.
The boat sinking was a concern.
That man needed our help. I was going on board to help him.
It's the best way I could describe it is like real-life Super Mario Brothers.
Come on, go!
This was bank holiday, all the beaches, they'll all be chock-a-block. We just sent this missile towards those beaches without those people knowing it was coming.